and we are back here to talk about the 6 to 9 division and the 10 to 12 division with our guest Aman Morani, who coached the winner of both the 6 to 9 and the 10 to 12 divisions. Congratulations. 1J was the program that won both of those divisions. Aman, how are you doing?
Good. How are you guys doing?
We're doing great. So I understand your son's next to you. He's here to contribute a little bit to the program.
Yeah,
if you can.
Caden. He's Caden Morani, 10 to 12. He's here.
How you doing, Caden?
We try to keep him as quiet as possible.
So,
Hello, I'm good. How about you?
yeah, no. I'm open to hearing Caden's contributions to the show. So, Ali Khan, we last left off pretty much only talking about two teams. Let's talk about the team that we spent probably the most time on, which was the Houston team led by Aryan Guruji. What happened? Because this was where all the eyeballs were, and I get Aman, you told us before the show we might have put a target on his back. I feel like the target was already on his back. What happened? What happened with Aryan?
He played amazing. First off,
Right.
I want to give props to all you guys. I mean, walking into the hotel was like Disney World, right? And so just seeing all the parents and just seeing the tables and registration. And like I tell my parents and my kids, right? Like, this is our NBA. And yes, we're going to work hard to make it to Division One and NBA and all that good stuff, right? But sometimes reality sinks in for all of us at one point where the basketball career ends, right? And so to walk in and to see like old familiar faces that I used to play up against when we used to come from New York, I want to say thank you to you guys. It brought me into like this teary moment. And I met, Farhan and Rafiq after a long time. Farhan and I recognize each other. Rafiq and I recognize each other. And of course, your dad, Shiraz. I mean, I know him for, 30 years or so. So I just want to say thank you. When I was telling you about they brought fear, the videos and the highlights and all these kids playing, and you hear like, oh, this kid's really good. This kid's really good. I mean, it was good. I think he had a game-winning shot that he had against another team, and it was phenomenal to see a young kid playing up and competing in our division, 10 to 12. I got to give him and his dad and him props for doing that, and that right there elevated his level of play for years to come. And I was very impressed by his level of play. I think every team was coming to watch him play, and I think you guys did a good job recognizing that talent.
Yeah, the easy thing for him would have been to stay in 6 to 9, but I respect the hell out of him going to 10 to 12 and competing with the older kids. It's harder. You do have a target on your back because everybody knows who you are, but you want that. You want everybody to know who you are. You want the hardest defense on you. That's how you get better. He's got to get better from this. I wanted to give him a quick shout out because I know they didn't do as well as they wanted to do. That's fine. Don't worry about it. You're gonna be better next year. You're probably gonna adjust to these older kids playing against you, and I look forward to seeing what he does next time. Ali Khan, as far as like the kid that stood out the most from this tournament, like who caught your eyeball, like from just an individual talent perspective?
I guess let's start with 6 to 9 if we can. Then we'll go to 10 to
Sure.
12. And Aman, first of all, props to your team in 6 to 9. I mean, also in 10 to 12, but props to your team, man. 4-0, making their way into the playoffs. I mean, that's an incredible feat. And I just want to say congratulations to your team. And I mean, some of your kids are on both of those teams. So that's fantastic. You have a good number of players on your team, and I'll let you kind of speak on those players because I think they play some great basketball, great fundamental basketball. There are some other players on some other teams I want to give a shout out to. Riaz Sayani from Florida really stood out to me, and he did a terrific job of just getting to the paint. I think for a lot of kids, sometimes it takes a moment to dissect the defense. It kind of collapses in the paint. He was able to use screens, get into the paint, finish, and also facilitate for his teammates. And when it came to close games, when they needed a bucket, they went to Riaz, and he was able to kind of get to the paint and score or draw a foul or keep the game close. So I want to give a shout out to him. I think he impressed me the most because of his size and just his ability just to know, hey, if I can get to the rim, I know I always have a good high percentage shot every time.
So we finished our semifinals game, and we walked over, and I think it was the semifinals I believe, I could be wrong, but I think it was Florida against um, I forget the team. Sorry, Florida against Little Ballers that played us in the finals.
Little Ballers.
And
Yeah.
right. And I walked over and I'm like, whoa, this is a game that's going to be really close. And of course, Riaz, was there playing his heart out. I mean, the crowd was into it. And just to see the level of play that he stepped up to that challenge, to the semis was just phenomenal. It was intense. He was carrying a lot of the load on that team because it was an intense game. But I got to give it up to I believe Team Florida was the team playing that he plays on. It was a lot of teams for me to keep up with, but knowing that some of those players are brand new, like as a team, and played from different cities and didn't really have practices and all that, for them to play in a semifinals and play that hard, I salute them. I was very impressed by every team actually going from day one to day three and increasing 1% the level of play just to know that, okay, look, we made it to Houston. We got to play hard. And just watching Riaz, just an example, like you said, one player going from day one playing against us and then in the semis playing a whole different ball game to carry the team and help the team and his teammates elevating their play. I mean, it's just a hats off to let you know, like, what happens when we put a little challenge to these kids and make them work hard for it. So shout out to Riaz for that. I mean, his dad and I, we spoke in detail a lot afterwards. Phenomenal kid, phenomenal dad, and definitely keeping in touch with them.
I just want to say this, by the way. The parents are really the MVPs of 6 to 9 and 10 to 12 leagues because to fly out to Houston, especially if you flew out, like it's a big deal. Like your kid wants to play in this tournament in Houston. That's a big ask, and to make that effort, to drive them to practice if you're practicing, to obviously get the hotel room, show out to every game if while you're here. That's a big thing. It means a lot to them. They may not express it as imaginatively as they can, but like it leaves an impression on them, and they're gonna remember it for a long time. I just want to give a shout out to all these parents. They did a tremendous job. The amount of teams that we had was off the chain. It was just off the chain.
If I can interject there, I want to give a shout out to my 1J parents. You know, every journey has challenges and obstacles that you have to go through, right? You guys only saw the beautiful picture at the end, like, oh man, these guys play great. They're all united. But as any relationship, you work through obstacles. And I want to give a shout out to my 6 to 9 and my 10 to 12 parents to come together as 1J, 1J, one Jamaat, right? That's the whole purpose of like the name that we came up or, we instilled a while back. But just to be at practices Sunday mornings, 8 a.m., be at the games, not only for their games, but also for the 10 to 12 games and 6 to 9 games and come rolling deep. Because I had told my parents, we are not home court, but I want to make this our home court. And, a lot of other teams took that both ways. They were like, man, you guys are really united. And some of the people were like, man, like you guys are a little obnoxious. But like you said, it's for the kids. It's not for, like I told one of the parents, I said, I'm not doing this to come out and scare you. I want these kids to know, like, hey, when you're playing to get up against 1J or any team outside or do anything in life and you got an obstacle, how are you going to react? And I want to piggyback to give props to Little Ballers in the finals because in the 6 to 9 finals, I walked in and we were a little confident saying, okay, hey, you know what? It's going to be a good game, but I think we might be able to walk away with a nice win. And those coaches and the team, they had me sweating, and I'm bald, so people were watching me sweat. And I carry a tasbih in my pocket. That's another message I want to send out to kids, like, and everybody. The Imam says carry a tasbih in your pocket, so during a difficult time you have something to rely upon. So I had my kids during a timeout. They did a little meditation, and we said Yali Yali a couple of times because they have to learn that even if it's a basketball game finals, in life, when you have an obstacle, you have to pause and you have to say, okay, how do I go back to my faith and something I believe in and take a deep breath? So we did some meditation during the finals, and I want to give props to Little Ballers for putting us in that position to know that, okay, hey, like this team came prepared from day one to day three. They came in deep. They brought a whole new fan base. And they played their heart out. I think we only won by like 8 or 9 points because the game was that intense. And I just want to give them props for that because they earned it.
the way you guys operated, everybody was buzzing about your team before you guys made it to the finals, before you guys won, because you guys were operating like an AAU team. Like the togetherness, the sets that you guys were running, like the fact that you guys had sets, the fact that you guys were like all like in coordination the way that you were. It's very hard to coach kids. I've tried. It's their attention spans are like this. I remember I was coaching, a quick aside. I remember I was coaching a 6-9 here in Houston, and one of my kids in the middle of a game started pretending like he was getting struck by lightning, and the entire team started pretending like they were getting struck by lightning at the same time. That's the attention span you're dealing with, right? And the fact that you got everybody on the same page like you did, much respect, much respect.
Well, to that point, I want to give props to my parents, for the 1J parents, because to trust a 5'5" Indian guy, coming from Queens, New York, to come into any tournament. We play other tournaments and stuff like that too. It takes a lot because they play for other teams that have coaches with a bigger resume, playing Division I basketball, playing overseas. But that trust to eventually start to trust me and to say, you know what, hey, let's give this guy a chance. And for them to trust me and allow us to grow through that, I got to say thank you to that. But I also want to say about, the plays and the sets and all that stuff. That comes with discipline. What I was telling the kids during the tournament, and I had the other teams listening in and other players listening in, you got to have a purpose, a passion. You got to have attitude and effort, right? And so when we walked into every game, we had a purpose, we had a passion, and we have attitude and effort. If you don't come prepared to anything in life, and this is what I was telling the kids before the tournament, if you don't come to anything prepared in life, you're going to be struck with something that you're going to have to take a step back and say, man, I wish I prepared. So for the youth out there, I mean, when you're studying for a test, don't cram. You can't cram into test mode. So preparing for basketball games or preparing for tournaments, you can't cram. It takes work
No
now.
different.
Yeah, no different. And so if you're about to play in the next tournament, and I encourage all these teams to come back and play harder, start preparing now, right? Like our work, we haven't stopped. We came back from Houston. We're still working, right? Whether it be individually, whether it be, just me sitting down and working on what's next, you got to start working now. And it's with anything in life. I mean, anything, take that and move forward with it in life and keep working hard.
Does 1J have more tournaments outside of like Ismaili basketball that they're preparing to play in?
Now you're trying to get our secrets, aren't you? No, 1J is, so we are a community. So I started this program 2 years ago. It's my TKN. It's my time, knowledge, Nazrana to the community. But it's not just for Smileys. So I have Black, white, Hispanics, Koreans, Chinese, all races, all religion. And what we do is we play in league games. We play, tournaments. But my objective is to bring a smaller community like Smileys and expose them to the bigger community, 1J. And so when we talk to like the outside world, they're learning who Ismailis are. And we do community service events together. We do, team bonding events together. And we've actually, sadly, we had a child in our program, a non-Smiley, pass away in a very tragic accident. And so that has made me more, I guess you could say, more amped up and with the purpose and a passion for these kids. Because life is short, and you got a little bit of a chance to make an impact on these kids and their parents to make a positive impact. And so I take it with a lot of pride. We do a lot of things outside of basketball. Basketball is just an excuse to bring us together. And I tell parents that all the time. I mean, like the tournament was an excuse for us to get away from out of town, spend time together, go hang out, have chai, talk. I made so many friends. And I even made better relationships with the parents that were in Houston from 1J that I normally just see at practices and in and out, right? So, it's we do a lot of things outside of basketball, but yes, we do play a lot of games, and we're always just having fun with it.
That's incredible, man. I mean, that is some deep stuff. I mean, obviously, like, it is important for me. I talked about this at the beginning of the show. I want to see an Ismaili in the NBA. I want to see an Ismaili on the sidelines. I want to see an Ismaili in the front office, right? WNBA, same thing. I want all that for us. And that all starts at the youth level as early as you possibly can with stuff like what you're doing with 1J, right? And it can't just end when you're done with an Ismaili tournament. It has to continue. Do other things. Stay together, have that camaraderie, compete in other tournaments, right? I think that kind of stuff is so important to fostering that kind of development, obviously personal and professional. And even if you cap out at a certain talent level, these are relationships you can take with you for the rest of your life. Even not only just like a professional level, if you ever want to utilize it, personal level. You can never have too many friends. When you go to the grave, you can't take all that money with you, right? It's what you lived, right? So I think that stuff is super important. I did not know about the extent of your program, Aman. I got to be honest. I'm a little thrown off, but that is incredible. You should be proud of that. That's really really great stuff.
Well, one of the biggest thank yous I want to give is to my wife and my family because the sacrifices they make for me to make this happen. Weekends I'm with other kids. Sometimes I'm missing my own kids' games, and I could get emotional here, but I'm missing my own kids' games to watch other kids. But I think the imam always says sometimes the sacrifice is bigger than the reward, and I want to see other kids succeed just as much as I want to see my kids succeed. And a lot of time parents are so selfish, and I'm not talking about any particular parent, but just in general in the world, right? We're so selfish about our life and our kids and our world that we forget that our kids are going to be interacting with another kid. And if we have an opportunity to make an impact on that other kid and make them a better human and a better person, by all means, take that chance and be that coach for them too. And I think that's where I play this, role. My wife, she's been very supportive of me. We of course 1J costs a lot of money to do all these things, and sometimes she's paying out of pocket for it. And I just want to say thank you to her because she's the one sacrificing a lot for the family for me to be able to do this time knowledge Nazrana, TKN that I came up with. So, but shouts out to my wife for that.
Let's end on this. You guys are the winners. Let's hear their names. Give me all the names on both these rosters. You guys won both tournaments. You guys deserve to be in the spotlight. Give me the names.
So I appreciate that. And one thing you learn about 1J is we're very humble and we like to kind of stay under the radar. But I appreciate the opportunity to give the names, and I'm going to do that in just a moment. But I want to give a shout out to some of the kids that I remember, and I could be I could be missing a lot of kids, but I might not know their last names too. But Zain John Muhammad from I believe Canada played a phenomenal tournament. Loved his game. Fizan Badruddin was shooting lights out against us. I want to give him. Ronan, of course, Zain, Kurji, the videos he had sent has really impressed me. And hitting that game winner, I was there live to watch it. A great drawn up play by his dad and the coaches, and it worked out perfectly. And that moment, I loved seeing that for him. And just also, I want to give a shout out to my coach for the kindergarten side, Sahil Kurji, playing up in the 34 plus. To play at this age while coaching and dedicating his time before tournaments, back home, and then preparing for his own tournament and winning it, I want to give a shout out to him. But for 1J, 6 to 9, we had, and I hope I don't miss anybody. Kaden, help me out here. We had a huge roster. So Liam Jawani, we had Nikai Morani, Arsh Ali, Maya Mamdani, Kaden Mamdani, Jaden Jinnah, Adam Ali Himani, Ari Himani, Caleb, Ali, who else am I missing? Arshan Danadina, right? I'm missing. Oh, Kyrie Morani, my youngest, 6th. I sent to Kai Morani, and then I got him. Who else did I miss? I believe that was it. I hope I didn't miss anyone there. And on the 10 to 12, we had Aiden Verdai. We had Danielle. We had Kabir, Kaden Morani, Rehan. Go ahead. Say your friends' names on the team.
Kason Ali, Taj Ali, Sean Raj,
Aiden, Chandani. And that's the beauty about 1J. We all play for the name in the front, not the back. So we always forget who's with us, and so we come as a unit and play as a unit. So,
well, it is great stuff. I really was like, I think the two programs that impressed me the most coming into this tournament was probably ISO Elite, who played in 16 plus. Actually three. I'll say three. 30 in the 16 plus. I would say ISO Elite, Houston North All Stars, because I didn't expect them to make the finals. ISO Elite because this was their first time playing up, and they really pushed some guys. And you guys, you guys, I'm telling you, you guys had a lot of buzz there. People were talking about you because no one expected someone to come in rolling deep like that for the 6 to 9 to 10 to 12 division. Usually it's a bunch of disgruntled parents kind of upset that they have to be up this early in the morning, but you guys were enthusiastic. You guys are, again, the organization you guys had was stellar. Major props to you guys. It's fun when the tournaments get fun when someone takes it seriously.
Well, I just want to again say thank you to you guys. Thank you for allowing us this platform to come and play. Thank you for organizing all this. It's not easy. We were sitting there and we're just like, this is beyond our imagination. Shiraz has always impressed me, but now this is like a whole another level. And I don't think anybody can match what you guys did. We actually want you guys to do it more often. So on the behalf of the entire tournament, I think you guys should take this weekend and start planning the next one for December, please. So we are ready. We want to have fun.
I mean, listen, I think these guys want to take a nap. To be honest, like,
yeah, they do. I know. But again, special shout out to you guys for bringing all the talent out. I mean, I was impressed by all these kids and parents, and I just want to say thank you on behalf of everybody. The food was great. The chai was, amazing. I needed that, so I can't thank you enough for that. And you guys really, set the bar right. So thank you again.
I gotta say, like, just to be clear, I did nothing. Just this show. That's it. That's all I did. That's my only contribution. It's all these volunteers. They deserve a ton of credit. We give them props to the show, but I do think they should take some pride, no matter what role you played. Take some pride in this tournament. It's you. You made it happen. The parents, you made it happen. The coaches, you made it happen.
To that point, I want to say one thing about our volunteers, right? We've been through a lot of events through like the 1J families. I'm talking about Black, whites, Hispanics, everybody, right? And every time, and this is something for all of us to be proud of, every time we have an Smiley event and we invite non-Smileys to our events, no matter what event it is, whether it be a happy event or sad event, the feedback I always get is, man, your community is so organized and so united. And even in this tournament, when I had the non-Smiley 1J families come to watch us, they walked around and they said, the hospitality, the volunteers. They asked me about the volunteer shirts that people are wearing. And I told them these are all volunteers that get paid nothing. And they come and they dedicate their entire day in service to help a cause. It's their calling, just like TKN and for me, for basketball. It's amazing to see what us Smileys are doing. And this is what makes us so unique and special as a community. So props to the volunteers in Houston. I mean, you guys did a phenomenal job. And this tournament would have been nothing without the volunteers. So thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on, Aman. Well, listen, I had a blast talking 6 to 9, 10 to 12, and hopefully we did this better justice in the last episode. I know we only talked about 2 teams last time. I felt guilty about it, so I wanted to bring on an expert, someone who actually knew his stuff, somebody who actually had success in this tournament, it's just nice to get that depth of perspective. And to see how committed some of our parents and volunteers are to this stuff.
I'm excited to see these kids elevate their skills and level of play from this tournament and continue. I would love to see our kids play together from different cities representing Team USA. So when you mentioned the kids, the Kurjis, the Zanes, the John Mamas, all these kids, these are the kids that are going to play together representing Team USA. And I'm excited to hopefully one day witness that. So thank you for doing this.
Yeah, let's develop them young. Talk to you later, man.
All right, thank you.
And we are back here joined by Sunil to talk about the 13 to 15 division. So BBC won, right? They dominated. They were the presumptive favorites going in. They solidified what they did at Nationals last year, right? And I think a lot of people are asking, like, is this just like the future of Ismaili basketball? Because you have this ISO Elite team that just jumped up a division, right? And they played in the older division. I kind of I tend to favor that team, but you saw this up close. Like, where would you lean?
Dude, Salman, I am total Houston. I'm born and bred here, but I will tell you that Houston has a problem. This BBC team from California, LA, purple and gold, they know how to play basketball. They know how to play together. if they stay together and keep playing, man, they will run Ismaili basketball for the next decade. Uh,
Okay.
Zubin number 4, Ryan Juma. Uh, there was another Ryan on the team. These kids, they knew how to play together. The energy on the bench. I mean, everything about it. They were just a team. They dominated the field, even in the finals. They had everything, all the pieces.
BBC played Capital Six. I want to
Six,
give a
yeah.
quick shout out to the Canadian teams. There were 2 Canadian teams in that division. It was Capital Six and it was Team Alberta. And Tsunami, you played against them. You saw them up close. I think it's fantastic that we had this depth of geographic locations playing, in all across all the divisions, but primarily in this 13 to 15, showcasing what talent we have upcoming. Capital Six, in my opinion, was should have also won the championship, right? It was by far BBC and Capital Six were the 2 best teams in that division. They had the best point differential. I mean, both of their point differentials were 100 plus, so they just flat out dominated the competition. What did you also see from Capital Six that impressed you?
Yeah, Capital Six. I mean, they were a great team. I think in any other situation, they would have been your champion, and it wouldn't have been close. They had everything from a big man. They were great shooters. They were great coached with I think Coach Shamir. Hopefully, I'm pronouncing that right. But they knew it. Kason Dalla on that team, Arish Malik on that team. They had it going from both inside and outside. And this is the first time I have seen a tournament with such Canadian presence where they brought a team and not only did they just show up, but they killed the entire competition throughout the regular season and through the playoffs all the way to the finals. And they met their match. But shout out to Ontario and the Canada team. I mean, they really showed up.
I mean, they surprised teams because they weren't allowed to play at nationals last year, right? So they just kind of came up out of nowhere, and I mean, they very well could have won this thing, but like obviously California, they played together a little bit longer, and like I guess that meant something.
Well, dude, what's really cool about Capital Six is that they only had one practice because of the geographic challenges. Like Ottawa and Toronto, like we kind of think they're close together.
No.
It's a 4-hour drive. It's like a Dallas Houston kind of situation here. And so the fact that they were only able to practice once, they had tough injuries to some of their key players a week before the tournament, and the fact that they still were able to dominate in the round robin run. I mean, I just think that's fantastic. And Coach Kanji had let me know that a lot of their guys are still recovering from injuries. They had injuries before the tournament, but just even beyond that, they had injuries, people recovering, and the fact that they were still able to compete and almost win. I think this sets both of these teams really well going into Dubai in the international tournament as well, as hopeful representatives for their countries.
Yeah, you know what? Something that I saw that maybe a lot of people didn't see was at the end of that finals game, the BBC started kind of doing. They started talking their stuff, and they may have started singing "Remember the Titans" like "Hey, hey, hey," and the Ontario team all looked over, and I think one of them said, "All right, we'll be back." So I don't think this is the last you've heard of the Toronto team.
I love that. I love when these teams like trash talk to each other like that on the benches and stuff. So there were a number of standout players, right? You mentioned a couple of them. If you had to pick one, who's the best player of this division, the MVP of the entire tournament?
Yeah, I would say, look, there's a lot of great players, and I know I'm focusing on Ontario and BBC, but Primetime was a great team. They had a great couple players. They played together in the past. That's a North Houston team. The team Alberta had a couple good players. Atlanta Bad Boys, Chicken Elite had this all-star group of players from Houston. They knew what they were doing. They had fun doing it.
And they've played together in previous national tournaments as well, so they have that chemistry moving forward.
Exactly, and they had some great players on that team as well. Rising Stars had a great player, Zion Berdai. He came over from Dallas. He was a last minute entry into the league and into the tournament. He had never played with this team before. He was a Dallas from playing with the Houston team. I mean, he showed up and showed out. He took that team to new levels. But I think the best player in this league, in this division, that people have to be kind of watching over the next few years is Zubin from BBC. He had played with the IQ, which is always nice to see as an old guy. He knew how to play basketball. He knew how to play as a teammate. Inside, outside, he knew how to drive and dish. He kind of had he knew his role, and he knew how to manipulate the defense with it. So he's a great player.
Yeah, I really do feel like because the ages were segregated in the way that it was, right? Like Houston's best talent chose to go up, right? And if they were just a year younger, then they may have had something to say about this. But it's hard not to argue that when you look at the young talent, the like where the power is in Ismaili basketball in the future, California, Houston, and Canada. Like that's where it is. That's where it resides right now, and we never had to worry about Canada. Like that's unique. Like that's never been even California up until last year. We talked about this on the last show. California was never a real threat to win these tournaments.
They were never under. Absolutely.
Now they are.
Would come out. They wear some Kobe's. They had some fun. We'd have some fun with them, and then they'd leave, and then we'd kind of see them a couple years ago. But they know how to play basketball there now.
They got now they got a talent, and now they got a team, a couple teams now actually, and this Canada team again. Like if California didn't have a team, Canada didn't even have a team that was worth mentioning, right? It was kind of like, okay, like this is a team that we have to play. It's on the schedule, right? Can you name any of the players? No, right? Like it's not that way anymore. You got to know who they are. You got to know what their strengths and weaknesses are. It's very different. The landscape is changing extremely fast. It's exciting in some respects, but if you're a Houston person, I mean, you got to feel a little threatened. You got to feel like the throne is up for grabs a little bit. I mean, we haven't had the throne in a while, right? This is the first nationals tournament we won in a minute. So you got to feel like you got to put in more work to remain the Kings if you're one of these teams.
For sure.
I'm gonna put you on the spot here, man. We're getting close to Dubai 2025. We got a good Canadian team. We clearly have a good group of Americans as well who are gonna be representing our country. Who wins? Who wins next summer?
Man, that if it's the same divisions, 13 to 15, and they're all playing, I don't know the age of some of these kids, but if it's the same teams, I find it very hard to believe that BBC wouldn't win this one. I can't picture a team that could match that level of skill and talent, height, in the next year.
Can I make a prediction? If they're as good as they are, it would not surprise me if California Dream pulls from them, because they need to make some changes to their roster. I think they realize that. It wouldn't surprise me if they go young and pull from this BBC team if they're that good.
Someone and I have talked about this on the podcast. They need more perimeter-oriented players who can also, attack off the dribble, knock down some perimeter shots, just take the ball off the main guy's hands and play a true 9-man rotation. And I think I agree with you, Salman. I think this 13 to 15 team could be a good pipeline for them to be able to take some players off. And
it's like their G League roster.
I'm gonna fight you guys on this. This is my plea to BBC: stick together. Don't go anywhere. You guys play with your friends over the next decade. You guys grow together. You guys lose together. You guys win together. Don't go to California dreaming. You stay together and you become the next California legacy.
I have no dog in this race. They're both going to represent the USA, so it doesn't really matter. You guys got to make the best decisions. California dream. I'm sure they're going to be recruiting hard, though. Like, it's hard not to feel like there's no other California team to pull from in terms of talent. They're gonna go young, right? I didn't see. Did you guys see another team in the 16+ division from California other than California Dream? I think it's just this young team. They might just have. That's the only option. It seems like, or maybe
sometimes the best option is to be patient and just wait your time. Like,
so
you gotta.
There is another West team of 16+. And they have some good young talent too, a lot of big talent. And when we talked about California Dreaming wanting to get a little bit bigger as well, I think that team, I think it was the Brown Mambas, that could be a team that they look into tapping. But I think Sano's kind of talked me off here. I think I'm with Sano. this is all about having fun with your friends. And we've seen when teams have broken up.
Hard disagree. Hard disagree. This is exactly what we said last week. Do you want to play with your friends or do you want to win?
Yeah, but in this case, they can play with their friends and they can win. I'm
Win
telling
what,
you,
though?
this team is that good.
There's not even a 13 to 15 division in internationals. Like they might as well play. I feel like they might as well play.
If there's no 13 to 15 division and they get a chance to play on internationals, I definitely think that they should try to get some of those younger guys involved. I know some of the teams in the U.S. have done that in the past, just to get them the experience and hopefully build that pipeline for future. If that's the case, I would definitely think that they should at least get the experience to try to go up there. I think that it's an invaluable experience and it's good for anybody. Hopefully they get the chance. Hopefully those LA teams kind of look out for each other in that point.
Yeah.
I got one more question for you, Sunil, and we'll hop off with you. When you look at the way, I mean, that entire weekend, we had multiple divisions, multiple different teams, so much young talent. 16 plus, 34 plus, we've seen them for multiple years now, 5+ years for 16 plus, 34 plus for a long time. This next generation is about to come up. What is a good piece of advice that you have for them going into their 16 plus future years? And then what is one thing that you feel like players, Ismaili basketball players, can improve upon as they make those leaps in the next few years in the 16 plus?
Yeah, that's a good question. Look, the number one thing that I was very disappointed with over the past like 6 to 7 years in Ismaili basketball was people forgot how to play basketball. I'm going to blame Steph Curry. I'm going to blame James Harden. I'm going to blame.
You're really going to go get off my lawn here on this advice?
That entire generation.
Okay.
Is it became a game of basketball that didn't involve your team. And you saw from the winners of each of the divisions, they all played like a team. It wasn't isolated basketball. It wasn't a makeshift defense without chemistry. All of it was dependent on chemistry. It was dependent on how long you've played with this team. Do you know the roles? Does every player know the roles? Does every player know where they're supposed to be? And a lot of that is playing with each other. Playing when it's not just tournament time. Don't wait until the tournament is announced to start playing basketball. Dude, basketball should be played all year long. Whether or not there's a tournament, it's just to play basketball, to build relationships, to build the foundation so that when it's announced, you guys are ready. It doesn't matter what other teams are doing and who they're recruiting and who they're adding. It's you guys are ready. And so hopefully these kids figure out who they like playing with, who they have fun playing with, and then just keep sticking with it. I take your point that there's some people when you go into college, when you go into that 17, 18 up league in that division where people go to college, people go just stay in touch, keep those relationships alive, keep playing basketball, and you'll be all right.
Can I add on to that?
Yeah.
First, like I love that advice. Keep playing. Just keep playing. Also, I would say don't just play with the Smileys. Right, we just interviewed Aman, who's coaching the winners of 6 to 9 and 9 to 12. They're taking that 1J team and they're playing in multiple tournaments across Dallas. Right,
For sure.
Like that's the way to do it. Find a group of guys that you want to play with. It doesn't have to all be Ismaili, and keep playing over and over and over again, different environments, get used to everything. I also think like consolidate when you can. Right, like I just talked about like. I don't think you should have like 4 teams for one city. I'm sorry. I don't. I think if you can get it down to 1 team, if not 2. If you have to do 2, do 2. Right? But consolidate. Get your best cream of the crop talent. And if you make those your new friends, right? You can play with your friends. Like who's to say you can't play with strangers that eventually become your friends? I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah, I mean, I have 2 different philosophies, and both are correct. I get it. I get your point. I mean, I think that's what Houston did. I think that's what Dallas did. I don't know. I think that might have been what California did. I'll take y'all. Y'all probably know better than that. But it seems like that's where we were headed about 10, 15 years ago, and that's probably where things will still happen just organically. Because, I mean, if you're good, if you're the better players on a team, you're going to want to play with better talent. You're going to want to play against better talent, and that just kind of happens organically. But I get it. I have 2 shout outs though. One, Jay, that is an awesome institution that they've developed. I'm going to call it an institution because they had everything. I mean, I was talking to one of their trainers there, and he was just telling me exactly what they do, practice 4 times a week. I mean, whether or not there's a tournament or not, they're playing in other tournaments. They are just awesome. As a parent, just incredible stuff that they're doing, and hopefully we can do something like that in Houston. All right, second shout out, and I'm sure you guys will talk about it in the women's division, but Nisha Karasi, 5th title, all-time legend. Shout out to Nisha. Hopefully
it's like
she
the
gets
Sue
her dues.
Bird of women's basketball.
Exactly. Someone needs to give her a claim for the greatest women's Ismaili basketball athlete of all time, the women's Ismaili GOAT. But that's my second shout out.
And they pulled off a huge upset. Major props.
Yeah, veteran leadership.
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. I appreciate you guys.
Thanks, Coach.
And thanks for putting this together. I'm sure everybody enjoyed it, and I'm sure everybody enjoyed this one as well.
Yeah. Don't get mad at us. Thanks, guys.